Hello and welcome to the Fancy Comma YouTube. Today I'm doing a video that I think is really relevant in our economic times, and it's about personal finance for small business owners and how I was able to pay off about $15,000 of debt and sort of our personal finance journey as a company from, oh gosh, end of 2021 to now. So as I mentioned in the burnout video, I wasn't able to do work for a while because I had burnout. And so um, as a freelancer, when you have burnout, that means you can't do anything. And so when you can't do anything, you can't make any money. And so when you can't make any money, and as small business owners, we have debts to pay every month, then you get more and more into debt. So we actually applied for a Paycheck Protection Program or PPP loan back when the pandemic. Actually, I was really proud of myself because I didn't need any money in the 2020, but in 2021, the economy started getting really weird, and I'm not sure what was going on because in the height of the pandemic, many people had jobs and stuff, but just for whatever reason, we didn't have any, and I was also really burnt out, and sometimes I wasn't able to do work for several days in a row because of burnout. That's money that we lost, not that it was there anymore. And at the end of 2021, I withdrew about $9,000 from my retirement because I was like, well, I can't make it day to day. So if I can withdraw this money out of my retirement, then I can actually make it, because I had a plan and a vision for Fancy Comma, and one of the things I really wanted to do for Fancy Comma was create a helpful blog and helpful resources so that people didn't have to pay money to get this information. They could just go to our website. You know, when you're really stressed, like as a graduate student, I would get really stressed out, and then just like in the middle of the night, I would just start like Googling stuff, and I would just find a website that really resonated with me and just like binge watch all of their YouTubes and get obsessed with them. I love that feeling of when you discover like a new YouTube channel that you really love. And I've found couple of new YouTube channels. I just discovered this YouTube channel of this guy that worked 12-hour shifts at Olive Garden to basically bootstrap his business idea, which is using artificial intelligence for SEO. But he unfortunately got like he got laid off from Olive Garden, but now he's been saving up, I guess, and now he spends his days working and like coding and building this app that he's going to create. So I found that really inspiring because that, to go back to more of my discussion of personal finance. So where was I was saying we didn't have any money. So then I got a loan. I got a bunch of loans and I had some credit card debt. At the beginning of 2022, end of 2021, the Federal Reserve said they were going to start raising interest rates. So in order to sort of I was like, well, I'm going to take out a fixed interest rate loan because I don't have a lot of money anyway, and I have a lot of credit card debt. At the time, I had maybe $20,000 of credit card debt. So I just took out a loan, and I took out a loan, a business loan. PayPal Business Loans has like a really good program where they'll like send you the money just like as a lump sum, like within like 2 or 3 days if you qualify. So I got an email. I was like, hey, do you need some capital? And I was like, yes, because we had gotten in 2021, we got $2,200 of PPP loans where I saw people getting like 5 figures of PPP loans, but I guess we didn't qualify. And also due to various tax reasons, I was like 2 different business structures that year. So then in 2023, I had a client, the first half of the year, first 3 months, I had a client that was very well known, and they were doing some content writing for like a vitamin for some supplements. Then they hired a new person. So I was able to like pay down a lot of my debt in the first part of 2023 and in 2022, but then I just didn't have any clients. And then for some reason, I've noticed that the work I do, it's like correlated to the stock market. So like if the stock market's doing really well, I get a lot of freelance clients. If the stock market's not doing well and the economy is overall bad, I guess people don't have extra money, so they just don't hire freelancers. And I'm not one of those freelancers that does like cold outreach. Like I've heard you're supposed to like email people and say, hey, do you want like do you need someone to do content writing for your business or strategy and like just reach out to people? But that's never worked for me. And I personally find that so annoying. I was like, well, I'm not going to do that to people if I hate it myself. So I decided I'm going to monetize one of my skills that I have, which is tutoring. So tutoring is completely recession proof because we're always going to need to learn how to read and write. And so I tutor English, I tutor writing, I tutor um, English as a second language. And I don't get paid a lot, but I'm able to, it's like a job where it's like so easy. When you're a writer, English tutoring is so easy because it's people. The other thing is, I guess reading and writing must be like really like hard for people right now because I have so many students that just like need a little bit of help reading and writing. So I just started doing tutoring and I got hired as a tutor in like June for this website where it's really easy. You just sign on and find some tutoring people, and then it matches you, and then you get paid anywhere from $13 to $24 an hour, which isn't a lot, but it's not bad because when you have to pay the bills, any money is better than having no money, especially now that I had this weekly debt thing where it was like every week I had to pay like $160 back to my debt because that PayPal loan, it was like um, it was like a fixed rate loan with fixed interest. And so when the interest rates went up 5%, the loan's interest stayed at like 11% and 16%. I learned the entrepreneurship phrases for what I was doing. So first of all, I learned that whenever you don't have any money and you just do stuff yourself to save money, but also because you can do them and because you need to get them done, that's called sweat capital or sweat equity. And when you pay for your business with money that you got from somewhere else yourself, that's called bootstrapping. I did not know this. So I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to bootstrap. And then when I learned that, I was like, oh, wow, I'm doing something like in the entrepreneurship world. So I committed to, I did the math. I figured out how much I need to tutor every month to be able to pay the bills. And it was some god awful number, like 8 hours a day, sometimes 12 hours a day. So I tutored for 12 hours a day, and it's like remote and it's like via chat. So it's not like, and I was able to do other stuff as well. So I just did that while I was like maybe like writing a blog. I would do some tutoring as well because like it takes a while for the kids to write back. And honestly, the level of attention I pay to my writing and editing clients is actually like too much for like students because it's too overwhelming for them. So I had to force myself to keep it simple. So it actually worked out. So over the time, so in 2023, I paid off $8,000 of my debt just from tutoring, and I paid off, and the economy got a little bit better. I must say that I just saw this article from CNBC, and I'll try to link it in the description box, but it was like a survey of small business owners, and 28% of small business owners say that the business landscape is getting better, and that's up from 23% when they did that before. So that's still only like almost 1 in 3 business owners are optimistic. I am not as optimistic as those people, but that's probably why I'm in the other 2 out of 3 people. The economy is getting better. People have reached out to me to do work, so I might actually be able to not tutor for like 8 to 12 hours a day. So, um, but honestly, once you have a plan and it's possible to, it's amazing that what can happen if you're creative and never and don't give up because now I've been able to um, pay down my debts. I have less debt. And I don't know. Along with that, we've also leveled up at Fancy Comma in a number of domains, and I have some projects that I'm working on that I'm really excited to share. If you follow us on our LinkedIn, that's where I post most of our exciting things that are happening, and also on our Instagram, I post a lot about things we're doing. But now I did the math, and I only have like $9,000 total in business debt. I just wanted to do a video on like personal finance and tips for personal finance for freelancers, and I already did one, but I just wanted to update that one about like what we're doing. So like it was an unglamorous process. I won't say that it was fun by any means. It was definitely really hard, and it definitely needed a lot of discipline and a lot of planning, and a lot of like the mental aspect was really hard. Like sometimes all I wanted to do was go and get something takeout or something. But then I was like, I don't have money for like $20 of takeout. And since I get paid $13 an hour in tutoring, it's like, well, that's like 1.5 hours of my time just for some delicious pad thai, like maybe it would make sense. But it's like the other thing about it was I committed to having this be a temporary thing. So I hope to be, whenever we pay off our business debt, I hope to do I hope to do another video about it, because I think that all business owners should be mindful of their finances. And I think a lot of times, like I know a lot of people that find finances really stressful. I'm an MIT graduate, I'm a math nerd, so I really like doing my own finances. I do my own taxes every year. So um, I think we should be, and it's possible. And I just want to come on here and say that it's possible to develop a sustainable business where, sure, it's not the greatest economy. Like, I'm still not back to like my previous life where people would contact me like maybe twice a week, twice a month, and just like, throw money at me to do stuff. Like, I think we've all been there as freelancers, especially science freelancers, when everyone was like, oh, hey, you seem like a good person for this. Would you like to do this? Also, Chat GPT is like now available and many people are using Chat GPT, but I've not had, honestly, I've learned a lot. I'm trying to learn more about algorithms in general rather than just like go the way of Chat GPT. But I'm really optimistic about Fancy Comma's finances. But and what does that mean for you? Well, when Fancy Comma has no business debt, that means I can have that time that I spend working and do cool stuff for Fancy Comma, so that we can achieve our dual mission of helping our clients understand science and helping people become better science communicators. Like, there's a number of sort of like side projects or passion projects. And that's the other thing, is I'd like to work less so that I can see if when I don't work, do you really get more creative when you don't work? Because man, I slogged through, whenever you have a lot of debt and you don't get paid a lot, and as a freelancer you can get fired for like the craziest things, like say like blinking weirdly in your discovery call. So like it's been really tough, and I don't know if there's a solution, because it's kind of the way the world works, is like if you're in debt, you're obligated to pay that debt, and if you don't, then bad things happen. So if you're in debt and then you have work in unstable conditions, like as a freelancer, then it kind of sucks. But there are things you can do to become more financially stable. Like, I learned how to budget. I created a plan to pay down my debt. I started following the work of people that have paid down their debt. I paid $100 for a class from this lady, Money Boss Mama, who's a mom that is, I love her because she's my spiritual, she's like a financial role model for me, because she's just like an everyday person, and she's a single mom, and she has like this really good training that's about the psychology of money and why we spend money. Because when I was first started freelancing, it was amazing, because I would just like write stuff and I would get like a ton of money, and then I would go buy. Then I was like really stressed out though, because I worked so much and I had all this debt to pay down, and I didn't know what I was doing with my life. So I went and bought makeup, and then the pandemic happened. I couldn't wear makeup anywhere. So I decided, then the pandemic has changed everything. So now Fancy Comma is like much more successful. And I really hope that other freelancers, if you're struggling with the financial piece right now, just know that you're not alone, and it's really, really stressful. Like, I noticed I've definitely gotten a lot more gray hairs over the past few months, because financial problems are a huge stressor. But here's my advice for you. If you're a freelancer and you're struggling to make ends meet right now, um, you can use your skills in like a number of ways. There's a ton of like gig work that you can do. Like, tutoring really worked for me. There's like a number of tutoring websites you can sign up and just work there. The website I use is like, it has a very long hiring process, but there's tons of websites where it's just like you post your services there. I know of freelancers that open like a dog walking business. The good thing is to diversify. I don't know how much you've been following the news, but the journalism field has been having layoffs like every day. It's like Messenger just like completely went bankrupt. I think like Vice is closing, or there's some places are just completely just shuttering their operations. I'm doing my own thing, kind of just every day, unglamorously tutoring, making sure that I have the money to pay my bills. It's harder than it sounds sometimes, because you really have to. plan and be like, what are my bills? What can I go without? Like, definitely go without. Like, for me, I really like getting fancy coffees. I'm a fancy person, and that's why I started Fancy Comma, because as you notice, the comma is actually a fancy comma because it's just fancy. And it's okay to be a fancy person. Has it been hard? Yes. But it's also like paid off. And I think that I honestly feel that the economy is getting better. I can tell from my clients that the economy is improving. So I think it's like, if you can, I committed to this, my debt payoff for like a short period of time, and I ramped down our spending, and you'll notice that I always use the unpaid version of all, I use the unpaid. So here's how I did it in my business. I use the unpaid version of all software. I don't outsource work that I can do myself. I don't do work that I don't think I can do, or I work on it a little bit every week, or I postpone it. I try to, I'm starting another blog where I have an affiliate link blog where I do reviews, which I haven't started yet because I haven't had time, but I have gotten probably like $10 here or there. We also use affiliate links on from Amazon on the Fancy Comma blog and also on our socials. So I've gotten a little bit of revenue from there. I do my own taxes. I do everything that I can myself. And that's that's called sweat equity or sweat capital, because it's work that, like, I could get paid for that if I did it for someone else, but I'm just doing it for free for Fancy Comma because I'm building Fancy Comma into a sustainable business. So that's what I did basically. And if you have questions about being a sustainable business, another thing that I did is I just ignored the advice that other people told me, like, oh, don't forget to cold email 5 people every week. Well, I don't really cold email 5 people every week. I do, I guess, network with people every week or so, sometimes more often on the Fancy Comma YouTube. So I definitely recommend staying in touch with people. But I do that just because I find YouTubing really interesting and cool. This trick to starting a small business, running a small business is to, and I learned this from Shark Tank, whenever you have extra money, invest it into your business in some way. It makes sure that your balance, your debts aren't too high, because having too much debt can totally undo your organization. And sometimes it's good to go into debt if you have like a project and you know you have a plan for how you're going to get it accomplished. But in general, it's not a good idea to go into like a lot of debt, especially in a time where your finances are uncertain. So some examples of recession-proof industries are like education, government, obviously the food industry. What is that called? I don't know what I guess it's just called the food industry, like being a waiter, delivering pizzas, is recession proof, because if there's a recession, people still have to eat every day. And then, so it's like no shame in that game of just doing jobs to pay the bills, because at the end of the day, the bills have to get paid. Is that capitalist? Yeah, it's a bit capitalist. What I've learned from doing all of this is that it's actually, once you if you don't do too much too fast, you can actually be really successful in small business. And the huge piece of that is the financial piece, because without money as a small business owner, you pretty much can't do anything. So that's the most important piece. So anything you can do to save money, to pay down your debt, your personal debt, like if you have a lot of credit card debt, make a plan to pay down your credit card debt. Um, if you're struggling to make ends meet as a freelance writer, pick up a second job that will help you pay the bills. I, for much of 2022, was trying to interview at different Starbucks to get a job at Starbucks, and I didn't get a job at Starbucks. But the jobs are out there. Like, I think that it just takes creative thinking to figure out, like, what do I need in my life that I don't have? And like, how can I get that thing, with the goal of helping my small business be financially stable? And Fancy Comma has very humble beginnings of me trying to pay my bills as a newly mentored master's student. So it wasn't like many people, they freelance for several years, and then they on the side on the side with their job, and then they quit their job because they're kind of doing this other thing, and then the other thing, takes, so they're able to quit their job and start a new business. But for me, I sort of Fancy Comma grew out of it just really grew out of my need to make ends meet. And I'm really lucky that I have been able to make ends meet for the most part as a freelance writer. Do I wish the economy was in a better place? Yeah, I wish the economy was a lot better, but I feel grateful for all the opportunities I've had to work on projects. And I've noticed that in the current economic times, I try to um, deliver a little bit extra so that my clients who are also struggling to make ends meet a lot of the time, because I do work with a lot of small businesses and like one person operations and like ideas people that have really good ideas, but they just need the to give their ideas legs, if you can accept that metaphor. And I think that 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 doesn't always come with a high price tag, but it is very rewarding work. So another thing that I've been doing is like really rewarding work that doesn't pay the bills as much, but still pays the bills. And the great thing about this education thing is that I'm kind of developing like this side hustle in education. So Fancy Comment's still here. We're still kicking it. We hope that if you're a small business, um, you're still it's really tough out there, but I think that being able to pivot and adapt, like especially the fact that we were working on COVID communication, COVID everything, and then COVID stopped being a thing, and then we had to pivot. So I pivoted to education, and things used to be a lot worse for Fancy Comma financially, and I know they're going to get a lot better. So I think that the same can be said for the overall economic situation in the U.S. Because if you look at the only thing is that like food prices are stuff is still so expensive, but that's okay because we're in a lot better place than we were, and we're going to keep getting better. And I'm going to keep paying off my debt and possibly just like talking about it, because I think personal finance is a really important piece. And I don't know if you know this, but we also serve clients in the finance space. So I'm a huge finance nerd and love nerding out about finance. So I would love to share what's worked for me on our YouTube so that other people that are in the science communication space who maybe aren't like me, they don't know like what entrepreneurs do to get successful, can learn a little bit about what entrepreneurs do to get successful. Like I said, just learning the term sweat equity and bootstrapping like did a lot for me because it made me feel like an entrepreneur. So we're going to continue with our sweat equity and bootstrapping and keep you posted. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to hit the bell to get notified whenever we post. And we're going to keep hustling over here at Fancy Comma. So catch you later.